Test, test. Answering a question. I'm answering a question a little quieter. But now I'm answering a question that I'm really excited about. Yeah. All right, Dave. Thanks for coming into my studio. I'm really excited to have you here. I know that you're really excited and really passionate about videography and photography because they kind of go hand in hand, and I appreciate you helping me with the setup of my space. I can already feel it a little bit lighter in here.
Not a problem.
So today we're going to talk about you and your background as a photographer and how you got into the industry and why you still do what you do. So I hope you're ready for my questions, and I can tell by your stature that you're ready to pounce. So
okay.
Why don't we start the questions off? Okay?
Sure.
Can you give me a brief statement about who you are and what you do?
As a product photographer,
Mm-hmm.
I create art for use in advertising.
Right.
Anything that'll make something look beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
sell to a client,
Mm-hmm.
and be adored by the masses.
Right. And when you're making that, do you think that people recognize that work is creative work, or do you feel like it is validated by your efforts when you see it out there in the masses?
I believe that it depends on what they're seeing. If
Right.
it's this beautifully done up front page cover of a book or a centerfold,
Mm-hmm.
you can see that there's been some artistic work done there, some creative work to make that
Right.
space look and feel
Mm-hmm.
airy and beautiful.
Right.
But if we're talking about a product on a white background, I don't think anyone's going to connect with that
Right.
as a beautiful piece of art.
Okay. Now, on the other side of the coin, when you think of photography as art, what kind of photography do you create that you would call art?
Anything that I connect with emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, I don't associate it with work. I don't associate it with a dollar amount. Art would be the very pure, the most pure of my photographs. It'd be
Right.
something that I'm doing to do. That is the driving motive
Right.
for me. I'm photographing it to photograph it and to enjoy the process
Mm-hmm.
rather than to meet an ends.
Yeah, so when you think about it in terms of, your vision and your goals, you're making art because you care about it. You're not making it to make ends meet. You're making it to put something out there, like to actually have something that you imagined and make it real. Like you're kind of like Geppetto creating Pinocchio, right? Like in a way.
In a way, I suppose. I've never been compared to Geppetto. But it's not even necessarily to get it out there.
Yeah.
I think in the purest form, no one else even needs to see it.
Do you think it's possible to have a singular focus as it relates to your career?
In terms of specializing,
Yeah.
yes. I think it's very important to specialize within your career. A lot of us tend to get distracted and think we can be a jack of all trades.
Right.
But, I mean, you wouldn't hire a guy who can do your drywall and your plumbing to, fix the leak if you had an emergency.
Right.
You'd call the plumber that specialized in it for the last 10 years.
Right.
So that's what I've done. I've spent the last 5 years specializing in product and commercial photography.
Right. Do you think that you make that association in other avenues of your life as well?
No, I think that different fields require different attention.
Mm-hmm.
In product photography, you're very focused on creating something for a client that is consistent.
Right.
Something that you can. Nothing is left to the imagination.
Right.
Whereas in art, you're very much playing with the imagination of the viewer.
Right.
And so you're often working in the opposite scale. And there are no rules when
Right.
it comes to art.
Yeah. one of my favorite painters is Peter Doig, and he always talks about happy accidents. A lot of his paintings actually happen as a consequence of him making a mistake or doing something that he wasn't expecting, and it kind of resulted in this new direction for his art, right? And do you think that that's something that you've encountered, or you talk about product photography as sort of your singular focus, but do you think that there's things you've done in your other explorations that have helped you get better at that?
I would say I've made a lot of mistakes to get where I am today. You have to make mistakes to learn and to grow.
How do you keep going when the going gets tough? What motivates you? What tools do you as a photographer use?
Now that I'm at a level that I would consider successful, can I do that side art shoot that I've always wanted to do? Can I creatively explore and reinvigorate my love for the craft? And so that's what I will do. It usually pops up in the spring, around spring cleaning time. I need to reinvigorate. What can I do to revive my love for photography? Because it's always there, but when you do it every day, you start to wonder.
Well, and especially if you're shooting similar kinds of things on the regular, right? Like it becomes routine. It becomes, I hate to use the word monotonous, but in some ways it becomes monotonous, right? Like,
the big thing that a lot of people think is that if you get into photography, that it will be glamorous.
Right.
It's not glamorous. It is, well, not as much as people would think.
Right.
Like it can be. But it's not all. You don't see the behind the scenes. You see a very small glimpse of the behind the scenes, and it looks sexy. It looks great. But it's a lot of work. It takes a long time to build respect. And so you're on the curb for a long time. And like the thing that goes through my head every time I'm feeling down about it is starving artist.
Right.
I heard about these starving artists growing up. That term stuck with me. And
it's like a bad word, right?
And I have food on the table. So I can explore the craft. Right. I mean, I'm not a millionaire or anything, but I would say to some point I'm successful. Right. And now that I'm at that point, I like to explore.
Right. Okay, so I had this funny thought while you're talking about it, but have you ever seen those infographics where it's like, it'll say like designer or painter or photographer or whatever, but it'll say like what my parents think I do, what my friends think I do, what the world thinks I do, what I actually do. That's what it is, right? Like you have to.
It's the public's perception of what this job is.
You have to know all those different perceptions and still, despite that, find a way to keep yourself motivated. Right. No, that's great.
And that's tough because you get it all the time.
Do you think that perseverance can be taught?
Self-taught. I think it's really a challenge against your own like your own perseverance. Like how patient are you? And how much do you believe in yourself that you can reach that end? Right. I know it sounds like a lot of baloney, but that's what we were told growing up. If you believe you can do something, if you put the effort into it, you can do it. Right. And it is true. I mean, for me, it took a very long time. Right. And I'm sure it would for a lot of people, especially in an industry that doesn't really support the arts heavily. I mean, we are in the prairies here. And so it's not a heavy art industry. Right. But to that point, I'm as some have said, a big fish in a small pond, whereas I could just be a fish in a very big pond.
Right. Yeah, and like when I think of perseverance, I think of character building, right? We've all been there, as a kid, and sometimes, and maybe this is making stereotypes of gender, but when you're a boy, your father says, man up. This builds character, puts hair on your chest, things like that, right? And you take that principle to heart, and you say, okay, well, I have to understand this and work through it, and like those metaphors whatever, like maybe they're dated, but the principle still is valid, which is, yes, you can figure it out, but you
Right.
have to have the, as you said, commitment to it. It's not something that can just happen.
It's everything in photography, from the perseverance to the work on the set.
Yeah.
It's all problem solving.
Right.
And if you love problem solving, you love puzzles, that is what it is really all about.
Right. Yeah. Have you ever received any bad advice when it's come to your interests in the arts?
Well, a lot of people don't understand.
Right.
People that are outside of the art community would have a hard time understanding why a person would turn down money.
Right.
If it meant that they didn't have to be that starving artist for the next few months or the next few years.
Right.
Why would you turn down that wedding that you could have photographed?
Yeah.
And collected, whatever the dollar amount may be.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? And I mean, you just have to understand for yourself why you're doing it, and stay true to it. I've been told to get a job that pays well while my body can handle a job that can pay well. Maybe I should be lifting something heavy. Maybe I should be, slinging this or building that, or whatever it happens to be.
Crunching numbers.
Yeah. So do those things now, and then retire early and do what I love, do photography.
Yeah.
But for me, why would I want to live that many years of my life doing something that I didn't want to do?
Right.
Hoping that one day when I retire, I can do what I want to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, unless you're a very money focused person.
Right.
And I mean, you have to be conscious of it, but it's not why I do what I do.
Yeah, and if money motivates you, then how the means is still getting you to the end, right? But in your case, what motivates you is not material. It's sort of immaterial of that. It's and I hate to jump and use your words for you, but you said to me, you are motivated by beauty.
Right.
Right? So something that you find beautiful is what excites you and what makes you do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, to be surrounded by beauty, or to create. In my position, I always find myself creating beauty or finding it within something.
Right.
I'm not always handed this beautiful orb to shoot, or this. I don't have these glamorous, beautiful models walking in every day.
Yeah, I think it was, and not to use another industry again, but Michelangelo, he would take marble and he would find a sculpture inside the marble, and he would say, someone would see a slab of marble and he would see a piece of art. It's no different than that, right? Maybe you see a desk, or everyone sees a desk, but then you see, these gorgeous grain and, and you're taking light and you're sculpting. You're building something out of something without light, right?
Right. And I believe that actually is the definition of photography. If you were to look it up, it's a light sculptor.
How do you personally deal with haters in your life, or people who just don't get it?
It's the same thing, persistence.
Yeah.
Somebody may not believe you if you say something once.
Yeah.
But if you say the same thing for 10 years straight and prove it, they'll believe it.
Right.
I mean, that's really what it all comes down to. I've had a lot of doubt about this industry, from people in my life.
Yeah.
And I've also had supporters, people who believe that I can do anything.
Right.
And for me, I've always been the person that believed that I could.
Right.
So you pretty much have to brush it off. You can't take it to heart. You have to take it and consider the words that they're saying, because who knows? Maybe I'm crazy, right? maybe art isn't the way we're supposed to do life, but it sure feels right.
I would fight that battle with you.
So I think that just sticking with it and seeing how it turns out, it's very rewarding once you get to that point where those haters, they can look back and say, okay, I was wrong.
Right.
Will you shoot this for me?
Yeah.
Right.
But in the time, you just sort of have to ignore them, or push them aside, or
take their points into consideration, because you never know where it's going to help you or how. But I mean, you can't really let yourself, if you're focused on something and you really believe it can happen,
Yeah.
then if somebody tells you you can't, you're not going to listen to them anyway.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it breaks your focus a little bit, but really, if you believe it, you can do it.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, it's partly character and partly experience and partly, just that naivety or whatever you want to call it. But like you take it as it comes, right? You figure out things as you can, and you sort of deal with the resources you have available to you. What's the biggest obstacle you have overcome in your career?
Ooh, okay. I would have to say that would be the sidebar. I think I've mentioned a little bit with you before,
Yeah.
but we talked about how I started in photography, left and went into construction,
Right.
came back into photography. I was in college for it.
Yeah.
I was the young college kid, and so it was half party, half photography.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't 100% focused on the goal.
Right.
Right. So I had a bit of a downfall there where some of my equipment was stolen.
Right.
Didn't have it insured, and that's tough. You're still in the starving artist stage.
Yeah.
You're getting critiqued at school. You're getting that they're working you down, beating you down to work you up.
Right.
And so you're in the beatdown stage, and all of your gear is stolen.
Yeah.
And you can't graduate without replacing yours and the school's gear that you had borrowed.
Yeah.
So it puts you in a tough spot. And I found a way out. I saw an opportunity and I took it. And I went into construction. We're in a very trades-based province, so it wasn't difficult.
Yeah.
And when they saw my work ethic, I escalated quickly within the industry. I could be doing very well as a in the trades, as a construction worker these days.
Yeah.
But I took my final opportunity to go back to college and use my credits before they expired.
Yeah.
To continue in my course.
Yeah.
So at the last moment, I focused on it.
Yeah.
I dropped a very successful career.
Yeah.
And went back to college.
Yeah.
Finished, and immediately after going back into college, I started to find contracts and work as a product and commercial photographer.
Yeah. It's kind of like a Cinderella story in a way.
I guess, yeah.
Like you took something, you
go
worked
from rock bottom and work my way back.
Yeah, you worked through all the basic things that anyone who's starting from the bottom has to work through, and you figured out a way to get yourself out of it.
And of course, the second time around, I was a little more focused on the goals. Back in college, and focused on what it was about.
Who would you say your biggest mentors are?
I will take inspiration from wherever I can find it. And that may be from photographers past. I connected really well with some historical photographers that I studied, and let's see, Man Ray, or there have been many, but
I know Man Ray, so that's
great. And they all seemed to know each other. They had a community, and that's the funny thing that I think about is that. They had this community, and they bounced off of each other and ideas and everything. This is in time before the internet.
Yeah.
Now to bounce ideas, it may only be a quick Google search away, or maybe you just want to see other people's work and go from there. I think it's great that you're doing this because it connects and creates that forum, like that people can discuss and they can take inspiration from other artists and. And be that history, become those historical figures.
And I mean, because the reality is that in your own time right now, you are going to be, the future generations are going to look to you, right? What, and not to put you as specific. Maybe it's people who are photographers right now. I don't want to put all the pressure on you, But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a very specific era where I began shooting
Yeah.
on film.
Yeah.
I developed and shot 4x5
Right.
negatives in a darkroom.
Where students coming out of school don't get that.
It was eliminated
Yeah.
the year I finished.
Right.
So in all the years growing up and through high school, shooting on 35 millimeter film,
Yeah.
shooting 4x5,
Yeah.
large, the camera with the cape over your head in college,
Yeah.
and to get into the digital world,
Yeah.
it's a very specific time in photographic history,
Yeah.
a very important time, and a very challenging time.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't understand it,
Yeah.
and it's tough for people, your clients, people who are not in the industry,
Yeah.
to understand the value and
Yeah.
and really see what goes into making a good photograph.
Right. I want to give everyone a theme that suits them as an individual and helps, my audience and your audience too, of course, a better picture of what it takes to be a creative professional. So my question to you is, how are you going to change photography, and how long do you think it's going to take you?
How am I going to change it? That's tough, because every time that I think I'm changing the industry or changing the workflow,
Yeah.
I find out that it's been done.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks alike. We're all creative minds, and
Yeah.
if you're problem solving constantly, you've done everything 6 different ways.
Yeah.
Someone else may have crossed paths with what you've done.
Right.
And so it's very difficult to change it. You really have to pick what you want and what you like and
Right.
work with it, and don't be too hurt when you realize that it's been done.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's you can still be original, but you're not inventing the wheel.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that I would like to spread it on. I would like to teach and encourage other photographers, and I think if I were to change the industry, it would be by sharing my
Right.
outcomes from all of my mistakes to save their time
Right.
and to get them on a faster track.
So it sounds like like I said, you've given it some thought, and your perseverance has paid off so far, and I think it will continue to pay off. And I appreciate you taking the time to come talk to me. And I know, like you said, normally you're on the other side of the camera, so to be on this side, it's kind of intense.
It's a new feeling for me. There's a little bit of a safety net on the other side of that lens. As soon as you walk into the spotlight, it's a whole new realm.
Right.
You've relinquished control.
Yeah.
And now you're at the mercy of the lens. So I feel for everyone who I've ever put in the set.
This is your like penance or whatever. No, that's bad. It's not penance, but no, I appreciate that. And obviously I've said this to you too, but as I build my Rolodex or roster or a team of people, obviously I'm going to add you in there, and we'll get more people involved, and you can connect with individuals and clients and all that stuff. So
Perfect.
I thank you, Dave, for taking the time to chat with me, and I hope we can do it again soon. It's been a good one.